Bryan Kohberger was fired from his Washington State University position as a teacher's assistant for behavioral problems and a sexist attitude toward women. Kohberger, the man who is being charged with the murder of the 4 university students in Moscow, Idaho, was facing disciplinary action in his teaching assistant job at Washington State University around the time of the murders of the 4 University of Idaho students, before he was ultimately fired from the position days before his arrest. The 28-year-old criminology PhD student began working as a teaching assistant in August as part of his graduate program. Within a month, he was under investigation by the university because of behavioral problems and sexist attitude towards women. On November 2nd, he reportedly met with a professor to discuss an improvement plan for his behavior. Less than 2 weeks later, on November 13th, Mr. Kohberger is accused of stabbing the 4 University of Idaho students. 1 month on from the murders, he was fired from Washington State University following repeated warnings and failing to improve his behavior. Days later, on December 30th, he was arrested and charged with the quadruple homicide. Was his investigation at Washington State University the last straw for Bryan, which led him to possibly commit these murders? We know that when someone gets fired from a job, it is a huge life-changing event in many ways. Bryan Kohberger was a PhD student. He had gone to school for many, many years, presumably worked hard to obtain his degrees and wanted to continue in this field of criminology, and was taking the teaching assistant job at Washington State University and doing that for his PhD. This is a person that was going for a PhD, a doctorate degree, which is a very high degree and takes a long time to achieve and a lot of dedication. Was his firing the last straw for Bryan? He was fired after the murders happened, but the investigation into his behavior was going on 1 week before the murders took place, and he had only been a teacher's assistant for a month. If convicted of the 4 murders, Mr. Kohberger faces the possibility of lethal injection should the prosecution seek the death penalty. In the state of Idaho, the maximum sentence for first-degree murder is death, and the suspect is facing 4 counts of this charge. While the Latah County prosecutor has not yet confirmed whether or not he plans to seek the death penalty in the case, and he is unlikely to show his hand over the coming weeks due to the gag order now in place. Kaylee Goncalves' parents have already said that they want their daughter's killer to be sentenced to death. According to prominent attorney Duncan Levine, in a death penalty case, the only possible plea deal would be for the suspect to be given life in prison instead. However, it's too early to tell whether this is likely in this case. On a death penalty case, the only plea on the table is life in prison, but both sides have too much investigating ahead of them to discuss that at this time. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section down below. Was this the last straw for Bryan Kohberger being investigated at his job as a teaching assistant at the university, or at Washington State University, for behavioral issues Was this the last straw? Did he see the writing on the wall that he was going to be fired from his position and this was going to jeopardize his PhD? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.